There we go. This feels like a crappie. It is. Pretty nice crappie too. We've run up on some smart ones, but that's all right. I got tricks for them. First keeper of the day. First crappie of the day, matter of fact. We're gonna keep us a few today. We might keep about, I don't know, 15 or so. Get my clicker out, that way I can keep up with how many I got. Number one. They're stacked up down there, they're just smart. Pretty good bit of current today too out here on the main river, so I'm having to put a split shot on there to get my bait down there quicker, to kind of hold it in the strike zone a little bit longer. I got a little bit of wind and a little bit of current, and when you're trying to keep up with that little jig, all that kind of, you got to take all those things into consideration. Finally found us a pile where the wind's not blowing 150 miles an hour and there's a bunch of crappie in it, so I have high hopes for this one. And I'm glad this one is kind of positioned where it is, because that's one of the things I want to talk about. There we go. Oh, ain't no mistaking that. Definitely a crappie. Pretty little black crappie. Look how he eat that thing. Now I lost two in there, and I finally get one to bite, and he eats the fire out of it. It's a good keeper, about a 10 1/4 incher probably. Throw him in there. Here we go. That joker followed it all the way almost back to the darn boat. Finally ate it. That would be a keeper. Alabama, they got to be 9 inches, but we're gonna throw him back. I don't much keep them unless they're at least 10. I've been throwing that little trout magnet this morning, and that's a great little bait. I love that little bait. Y'all know I do, but I want to throw something that's got a little bit of action to it and see if it makes a difference in getting these fish to bite. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna throw this Bobby Garland itty bitty in there. It's got a little kicking tail on the back of it, and sometimes just a little bit of action in that tail will make all the difference in the world. It'll get them fish to bite. So that's what we're gonna try. There we go. Made a little change and it worked. It's a crappie. Not a big one, but it's a crappie. If I can just find a bait that they really want to bite, little black crappie. If I can find a bait that they really want to bite, I can go through enough numbers to catch some big ones. I know I can, because I know there's some big ones in that pile. I've caught big ones out of it in the past. There he is. That one thumped the fire out of it. It was a hard hit. Oh. It's a little bit better one. We'll keep that one. Decent fish. I've had to put more weight than I usually use, just because there's so much wind and current today. I'm just trying to get it down there to them. I'm fishing about 15 to 18 feet. And I went to a size number 3 split shot and a 1/16 ounce head. That's a pretty good bit of weight for crappie, but like I said, there's so much wind and current, I'm having to do that to keep it, kind of get it down there and keep it in the strike zone. Those fish don't have long to think about it. They either hit it or they don't when I come across the top of that stump, but it's obviously working, so we're gonna keep doing it. This fish here is not as big, it's just a little guy. He come off. Let's talk about this spot. So right out here is the main river channel. right there is a creek. So this is just the intersection of where a big creek comes out and hits the main river channel. And this is like this is a key, typical place for crappie to be, especially this time of the year. Because they'll use those creek channels, they'll use that main river channel. As long as I'm around some type of a channel this time of the year, I feel good about finding a school of crappie. Because what these fish are going to do, they're going to find them somewhere, a good piece of structure somewhere where they can get out of the current. That's one thing about crappie. A lot of times you'll find bass, especially in the warm weather months, you'll find bass right out in the brunt of the current. But a crappie pretty much always wants to be out of the current. If he possibly can, he's going to be out of the current. Like these particular fish right here, they're sitting, yes, they're sitting out in the current, but they're sitting behind a stump. So I'm having to kind of keep my jig and hover my jig right over the top of that stump, and when it comes over the back side of it, they're all kind of ganged up right there. They're using that stump as an ambush point and also as a current break. There's a little eddy down there, and that's where those crappie are sitting. So that's one thing you need to understand about crappie, particularly on a river system, is that most of the time they're always going to be somewhere where they can get out of the current. Now, let's talk about what kind of structure they will use. Obviously they'll use brush. There's not a crappie anywhere in the world that won't use a piece of brush. I mean, that's obvious, right? But they'll also use bluff walls, what I call vertical structure this time of the year. Let it go too deep that time. You can find a lot of fish like that bluff right over there. All that is, that's where that creek channel swings right up against that the bank where it comes out and hits the river. And you can idle down those bluffs, and lots of times you'll find schools of crappie right along those bluffs this time of the year in a place where they can get out of the current. Same kind of deal. So bottom line is, when you start your search on a river system for late fall, early winter crappie, and really all through the cold weather months, in my opinion, the best place to start your search is around creek channels, deeper creek channels, and that's relative to the body of water you're on. Deep creek channels and also the main river system. There's a fish right there. Feels like a decent crappie. Yep, that's another keeper. I know there's some doggone big ones down in there. We'll find some big ones here after a while. I like to fish, in my opinion, now this is just my opinion, and this is what I've seen over, years of fishing these lakes around where I'm from. In my opinion, the biggest crappie in the lake are going to be on the main river in the winter months. That's my opinion. But that's not to say that you can't find some really good schools of them back in some creeks, as long as that creek still got some good depth to it. That's a key deal, and another point that I really want to make. I'm not saying crappie are always going to be deep this time of year, but they're always going to have access to some deep water close by. If they're not in deeper water or sitting right on the edge of a creek channel or the main river channel, they're going to be not very far away from it. They're going to be where they can get to it without having to swim too awful far. There's a crappie. Decent fish. I had to play keep away with that one to get him to bite it. I just cannot get dialed in today. I hate changing up baits this much, because I like to try to teach y'all something about baits and stuff in every video, but I'm just having to do what I got to do to get them to bite today, to be honest with you. Another one. Feels a little better here. Yeah, that's a pretty good crappie. Threw in there and caught a little bitty one, then threw in there and caught a decent one. He ain't big, but he's decent. Not bad, we'll keep him. There's a pile of them in that spot. Same deal right here. We got that creek right there that comes out here and it meets the river right here. And I want to show you guys what I'm fishing because I know you guys always like to see this. You can see there's a big, like a tree limb that's washed in here, and it's coming up off the bottom right here, and there's a big school of fish sitting right here on that tree limb. I'll pan around a little bit so y'all can see it. That's a bunch of fish right there. You can see where it's falling off in that creek channel right there. And there's all those crappie. There's a pile of them. I mean a pile, but I still, even with all those fish down there, I still have to hit it just right to get a bite. I mean, it's not a guarantee. There we go. Looks like another decent one. Oh yeah, another good keeper. We're going in the right direction now. That's a nice one. Maybe they're finally starting to bite a little bit. I finally settled on a combination here. I swapped up baits and swapped up baits. This is the Bobby Garland itty bit slab hunter on a 1/32 ounce little jig head. Got it tied with a loop knot. Number 3 split shot. That's bigger than what I usually use. Having to use that today to get that bait down because there's so much current and so much wind. And I'm using my braid to fluorocarbon setup that I usually use. 4-pound vicious 100% fluorocarbon leader, about 6 foot a leader. And then I've got 5-pound vicious braid on my main line. And I really like that. Just because I can feel so good with that braid. I've gotten used to it and I really like it. I'm throwing the Mustad Detector 6.6 light action rod is the rod I'm using today. There he is. Little fella there. He's probably a keeper, but we're gonna throw him back. He ain't quite big enough. I just had to keep messing around with baits and stuff, and I finally settled in on something that they'll bite. There he is. Feels like another decent one. We're gonna mess around and get a big one out of there in a minute. It's gonna happen. There's one in there, I guarantee you. These are good average size fish though. Perfect eating size fish. Now see, later on in the winter when that water gets down in the 50s, these fish will be twice that thick. I mean, they'll put on a big old thick feed bag. They hadn't even really started fattening themselves up for the winter yet. There's one. Whoa, now, where are you going? Yeah, another one about that same size. Good keeping size. Let's see what we're up to in the live well now. We got 9 in the live well now. He is. You get it in that school, it's ever cast on that one. Another good one too. Swallowing that little jig. nice one. You'll see my bait falling right there. Falling right in that school of fish. Y'all watch this. I'm gonna see if I can keep it in frame while one eats it. Here he comes. Looking at it. Looking at it. Yeah. He didn't eat it. It's hard to stay in frame and do everything I need to do. I'm gonna try that one more time. All right, there goes my bait falling down. I'm gonna try to keep it right above them. Just let it fall right through them. See if one gets it. Yep, he got it. See him right there. He came off because I couldn't reel. There we go. There's a good one finally. Nice crappie right here. Get up in here, boy. That's the kind we've been looking for all day, ain't it? A lot more like it right there. A lot more like it. All right, y'all. That is gonna wrap this one up. I stayed till almost dark today. Put a long day in, covered a lot of water. Finally found them toward the end of the day, man. Ended up probably catching 50 or so. There's only so many I can put in a video, but you know, just kind of had to get in a good section of the lake, figure out kind of what was going on. Hadn't been down here in a while, so it was a fun day. No giants, a lot of good keeper fish. I have not found those great big ones yet. I don't know if they're a little bit deeper than where I was fishing or what's going on, but we'll find them. We'll get back after them here pretty soon. I appreciate you guys watching. If you hadn't subscribed yet, I would appreciate it if you did. Helps the channel grow. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see. We still got a couple more months of crappie fishing to go before I get back to bass fishing. So appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time right here, Brandon Lester Fishing.